We've got Michael Noland, the bottom
There he
line,
is.
just joined us.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Hey, Michael.
I'm doing well, Royce. For some reason, it wasn't accessing my camera, so I had to do a complete reboot. So
Well,
sorry for the
Michael,
late show up, guys.
I just lost the
Good
whole
to see
screen
you.
and had to come back on myself.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was waiting in the green room, brother.
Oh, God, terrible, terrible. So
Hey,
anyway,
Chris, Nick, David,
Michael.
and Dawson.
Hey,
Good
Michael.
to see all of you.
Good to see you,
yeah.
Michael.
Well, you
Good
know,
to see
I had just mentioned that Pink Floyd, was formed by Sid Barrett, gained an early following as one of the British first psychedelic groups. Okay, but then at the end,
Actually,
I said,
they were formed by Nick Mason and Roger Waters. Sid Barrett was an old friend growing up with Roger Waters, but those two started the band, and then Nick came in, or Sid Barrett came in, started singing lead for them, and then their lead
Yeah.
guitarist quit. He started playing guitar and lead until that whole thing. So yeah, the first two members to actually set up, we're going to start a band that would evolve into what we know as Pink Floyd was Nick Mason and Roger Waters to begin with, brother.
Hey,
Gotcha.
before we get too much further, can I add to what Michael is saying?
yes,
Because again, I'm taken out of the new edition from 1977,
you've been
and they
getting a
got all
lot of-
kinds of stuff about the beginning of Pink Floyd. And just to emphasize what Michael was saying, the original start of Pink Floyd was Waters, Mason, and Wright. They formed a group called the Herbadashers,
Dashers. Yeah.
and then they changed the name to Sigma Six, and then they got a manager and he couldn't sell them, so they changed their name to the T Set, also the Abdabs, and even the Screaming Abdabs.
I think Pink Floyd is one of the best progressive rock bands, but as I go deeper into each progressive rock band, and I've seen about half of them, I'm starting to question that. And there might be something better, but they're definitely the most popular progressive rock band.
Well, Dawson, if you don't mind, what are some of the bands that you're thinking may be better?
Well, I was just I took a 60s trip this week, and I was searching for the Lost Chord,
Oh, okay.
and I've
Okay.
seen the
That kind
Moody
of trip.
Blues.
Yeah,
I've
Moody Blues.
seen
You-
was that?
I said I've taken 60s trips, but they were virtual.
No, I
Well,
listened to
it's interesting you're saying that, Dawson. I'll let you continue. Interesting you're saying that
Yeah.
because I was in my own head comparing the Moody Blues with Pink Floyd today as I was listening to some of their music.
Wow.
As
Thinking
well,
how-
you should.
Thinking how there's some
Yeah.
strong similarities.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Moody Blues, if you're going to talk about psychedelia and
There you
and also being at the same time a progressive band,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pink Floyd owes its ties to them as well as Yes, for that
Right.
matter.
Right.
And people, it seems like their name hasn't lived as proudly since the members have quit. Although Justin is touring this year by himself, but I'm sure he's doing Moody Blues catalog since he wrote most of them, or a goodly amount of it. But when you listen to them, they had the spoken word. But it would be like cold-hearted orb. There you go,
Right.
man.
Right.
Open the door.
For it riles them to believe that you perceive the web. The spoken word poetry with a very avant-garde presentation, and yet always anchoring in the song. And I think that's what Roger Waters had to learn to do once they lost Sid, because Sid was the songster and Roger had to kind of warm up into it, and often using musical ideas by David Gilmour, and I think that's when Pink Floyd was at their strongest, is when David Gilmour and Roger Waters worked closely with each other, allowing other members to come in with their ideas.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Michael. Absolutely, as far as the progressive and the psych, but as well as the spoken word came out of the tea houses and the poetry houses as well. And
Good point.
what a great mesh they were for quite a few bands, actually.
And they all had a little bit of like the symphonic side of the Moody Blues is
Yeah.
where they really
Yeah,
they
I see
had
that.
a niche.
Absolutely.
And I think Pink Floyd had a little more of a rock niche, and Yes had a bit of both in a way, because Wakeman was very symphonic, and
Right.
so kind of interesting the way they took little niches of their own with their strengths.
right.
Yeah. I'm really
Right.
feeling a Moody Blues show coming up.
We talked about this the last time we covered Pink Floyd, but it
Yeah.
hasn't been mentioned tonight. And I highly recommend anybody who is a Pink Floyd fan to get this film. Now, this version, this of course is Pink Floyd live at Pompeii. All right, let me bring it up a little bit. There's the cover of the version that I got. Now, with this version, you get two different versions of that film. You get the original one, the way I saw it as, what was I, 17 when that came out? 16, 17 years old? Depends. What year did this come out? 71-ish?
71.
71, I was 16. Okay. So, and then they have the new director's cut where he inserts a lot of, at the time that they released this version, a lot of the, planetary special effects interspersed with what they do. And that's worth a gander. But, the special effects they use doesn't even hold up by today's standards. And they were on a budget with that anyway. It's worth a gander. But the one that I recommend is the original released version. Watch that version without the director's cut, and what you get is the Pink Floyd of Meddle era, right? Performing what they do in a Roman freaking amphitheater, okay? Designed to sound so wonderful, empty. There's weeds growing out of the benches, right? Ancient, on the foot of Mount Vesuvius, and it's interspersed with, scenes of them walking by lava pits and everything during this. It's a wonderful experience, but it also includes, at the last minute, they took film of them recording Dark Side of the Moon. So, interspersed with the Meddle era, you also see them working on what would become classic Pink Floyd. So you get a little bit of both. This is so well if not accurately, it's a damn good representation of the band at the time that they went into interstellar overdrive for sure.